Hi, I'm Brian Levy. I am the Chief Relationship Officer for Manchester Care Homes and Cambridge Caregivers. I'm also the host of the Manchester Living Podcast. The podcast is to help people navigate the complex maze of elder care, and there is a lexicon of elder care terms on the website at manchesterlivingpodcast.com. All right, let's jump in. On this episode, we are talking about longevity with Dr. Kenneth Cooper. Today, Dr. Cooper, founder of the Cooper Aerobics Health and Wellness Center, now in his 90s and having logged over 38,000 miles running, still leads by example and calls on the world to get Cooperized by following his proven 8 healthy steps to live better. His personal mission remains clear: to move healthcare from disease treatment to disease prevention. He continues his mission to inspire healthy living with his recently published book. As I read the book, I learned the following about Dr. Cooper. He is disciplined, he is humble, he's hilarious, he's adventurous, he's an overachiever, he's a proud father, a doting husband, an Eagle Scout, and my favorite, he's a dog lover.
That's right.
Welcome to the Manchester Living Podcast.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir. All right, Dr. Cooper, I grew up on the Cooper Fitness campus feeding the ducks, and I raised my kids doing the same. So I have to start by saying thank you for the fond memories.
Delighted to hear that.
Yes, sir. You are the only person I know who has coined a term that is part of our daily vernacular, aerobic. How did you land on that term, and what inspired the concept?
When I was preparing the first book, Aerobics, published back in 1968, I pointed out that exercise can be used in 3 different ways. Rest relaxation, number 1. Muscle building and figure contouring, number 2. And number 3 is cardiovascular pulmonary condition. All have merit. Only one can prolong your life: cardiovascular pulmonary condition, which is aerobics. And a chapter in the book entitled Aerobics, and the aerobic type exercises: walking, running, cycling, and swimming, a whole list of them in the book. And the publisher thought, that's unique. Let's call the book Aerobics, because that word didn't exist in 1966. And so we added the S to it, and I agreed, okay, you want to do that, but they'll have difficulty with the translation because it's a new word. By the way, it was published in the Oxford English Dictionary in 1986. It's an exercise program which requires only a modest increase in oxygen intake so it can be maintained. It's an exercise program that has beneficial effects on the cardiovascular pulmonary system by a minimal increase in oxygen intake, and so can be maintained. That's the official definition in the Oxford English Dictionary, 1986. But I told them it'd have difficulty if it was translated to foreign languages. My book's been translated over many, many different foreign languages. This is my 20th book. And they found that that was true. For example, in German, it came out as Bewegungstraining, which means motion training. When they came to my 5th book, the Aerobics Program for Total Well-Being, they talked about it being Dr. Cooper's Gesundheit program. In Russia, they call it Aerobica. In Neurologists, it's translated Novaya Aerobica. That's my extended Russian that I know. Wow. And the French call it oxygen à la carte. All different ways the word has been translated. But now it's all over the world and known as the father of aerobics. And it wasn't Jane Fonda. My wife wanted me to get that point in.
I see.
She didn't come along until 1981. This is 1968. Interesting thing with Jane Fonda, when they had her book came out, and then she was asking people to exercise to the burn, aerobic dance. And actually, Jackie Sorensen talked about her in the book. She's the one that started aerobic dancing, not Jane Fonda. And they asked me on national television, do you think it's safe to exercise to the burn? I said, no, that burn can be angina, chest pain from heart disease. That could be a problem. If you have pain with exercise, you want to stop and get some help. Shortly after that, I had a letter from Jane Fonda. I saw on the envelope, Jane Fonda. I thought, lawsuit. Opened it up, and she said this statement. She said, you made your mistake. You've been in this condition. You've been in this business a lot longer than I have. You made your mistake. I made my mistake. Why don't we work together? I couldn't believe that. And so the following tapes she produced, they went through our research institute. We made comments about that.
I love it.
So that was the contact we had with Jane Fonda. I haven't heard anything from her in years, though.
That's great. As I mentioned in the intro, we talked about the 8 healthy steps or daily habits that contribute to a longer, healthier life. Will you talk about the 8 healthy steps, please?
Yeah, very quickly. Number 1 is body weight. Now, your body weight, you can't be obese and be healthy. That's all there is to it. Obesity is related to all sorts of medical problems. But again, get your body weight under control. How do you determine that? Get your body mass index. You go to the internet, just type in your height and your weight, and get your body mass index. And then 18 to 25 is normal. 25 to 30 is overweight. Above 35 is obese. But the big thing we're pointing out now, the body mass index considers the heart to be a cylinder, but most people have a pot belly. So we weren't measuring the circumference of the waist through the navel. Now, we insist that you do that, get the body mass index, but then get the circumference of your waist, and that should be 1/2 of your height in inches. If you're 5 foot 6 inches, the maximum circumference of your waist should be 30 inches. If you're 6 foot 72 inches, it's 36 inches. So combine those two, you know whether you got a problem with visceral fat, and that's the fat that causes a medical problem. Body weight, number 1. Number 2 is a good diet. I'll make it simple. 5 is fine, not is a vine. Number of servings and fruits and vegetables should be consuming on a daily basis. Average American adult, 3.1. Average American teenager, 1.6. There's room for improvement there. But then along that, we encourage vitamin supplementation. I take vitamins every day. I take a single vitamin that has all the multiple, but I add 5,000 international units of vitamin D because we've found that vitamin D can help protect you from the problems with the coronavirus. We have data in the book to document that because the coronavirus, it's the virus in the virus itself that causes the problem, but it's the way the body responds, called a cytokine storm, the hyperimmune response. It damages the virus, it goes to the lung, causes pneumonia, and that's number one cause of death. And vitamin D only can suppress that. Average American has a level about 25 to 30. Anything less than 30 is associated with a high increase of hospitalization and even death from coronavirus. And with my level of 7,000 units a day, my level runs between 65 and 70. We find it gives us almost total protection. So vitamin supplementation along with appropriate diet is important. And next on that list, without question, is the most important one, is exercise. It doesn't take that much. We published a famous article, November the 3rd, 1989, in the JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association, entitled Physical Fitness and All Cause Mortality. And we found that if you move up just one block on the fitness scale, from very poor to poor, measured by treadmill time, there was a 58% decrease in all-cause mortality and a 6-year increase in longevity. All the way out to the end, it was only a 9-year increase in longevity and 65%. So the best return on your investment is to go from Category 1 to Category 2. And 90% of the people that got 30 minutes of exercise, collective or sustained, most days per week, 150 minutes per week, easily made that level. So all you have to do is walk. Just combine 30 minutes of exercise, collective or sustained, and that's the most important part of the program. Next on the list is you can't use tobacco in any form, stuff, dipping, whatever it may be. One of the worst health habits people have is cigarette smoking. And then next on the list is alcohol. Alcohol has been controversial. We know that for a while we said women can drink 1 drink a day or 7 drinks a week, and men can drink 2 a day or 14 a week. Big article came out from Europe a few years ago, and they said if men drink 14 drinks a week, they shorten the lifespan by 1.5 to 2 years. We know that. Alcohol is related to cirrhosis of the liver, alcoholic become alcoholic. But the big thing now, they're pointing out that alcohol, any alcohol, beer, wine, liquor, is associated to cancer, starting with the mouth, starting with the larynx, going down to the esophagus, going down to the colon. Even cancer of the breast is related to alcohol consumption. It's not been proven. I don't drink at all, but I've told you, I would encourage you, if you drink, do not drink more than a drink a day. And next on that list is controlled stress. And stress is, one of my books was entitled, Can Stress Heal? I'm as stressed as anybody else in the country with all the work. I used to work 60 hours a week. I'm down at my advanced stage to 40 hours a week.
You're taking a break.
Yeah, I'm taking a break now. But I work out the end of the day because we know that exercise is the best way to control stress. Hans Selye once said, he said, the stress is the spice of life. What would life be like? There's no runs, no hits, no errors. Stress can make you successful. Stress can hurt you if you control it, and stress can make you successful. So I start the day with prayer and Bible study. That's my meditation time. And then I end the day with being physically fit. I don't run anymore because I broke my leg snow skiing back in 2004. After 52 years of snow skiing, I never had a problem. I had a tibial plateau fracture in my right knee. So I can't cure that by having total knee replacement surgery. So you don't stop because fitness is a journey, not a destination. You got to keep it up the rest of your life. That's why I'm doing this regularly with my 1 hour of exercise at the end of the day. 30 minutes of that's on a recumbent bike. And then I spend 10 to 15 minutes on some exercise programs. I'm going through a muscle rehabilitation technique now because the muscles in my right leg, because of that fracture of the knee, I have a weakness in the quadricep muscle on one side compared to the other side. That's the muscle from the knee up into the groin. And I have a fear of falling. You have the balance there. So I'm working with a personal trainer who specializes in muscle activation technique, MAT, and it's building up the strength of the quadricep muscle. Even at my advanced age, in my 95th year, I can still build up muscle mass. And we were taught originally from medical school in all past 50 years of age, you can't build up new muscle mass. You can't build up new, all these various things. I call them the myths of exercise. Right. I was taught in medical school. When I was during my early years, born and raised in Oklahoma City, my father was a practicing dentist. And he was very much averse to my exercise because when I was a high school senior, I won all-state in basketball, state of Oklahoma, won the state champion in the mile run, got a scholarship here at Oklahoma on track. And during that time, he was so afraid, and I was taught this in medical school, you can get an athletic heart. And the athletic heart becomes a muscular heart. You stop exercise, converts into fat, and you'll die early. He was convinced I was going to die early. He never saw me play basketball. He never saw me run an event, even in high school or college. My mother did. She's my greatest supporter. I've outlived him by 17 years. Because that mistake people were making, even in medical school, we were taught that wasn't a muscular heart. It was a dilated heart. The left ventricle increases the size, and that's the aerobic training effect on the heart, increasing that size left ventricle, so blood pumps out more blood with each stroke. Why do you think the racing heart rate goes way down in an endurance athlete? Average American male is 72, and athletes in 45 to 50, women 78, 50 to 55. It's a more efficient pump, and they live longer. And that's one of the topics in the book, the work we did on these world-class athletes, such as Frank Shore and the late C. Prefontaine, to show that it's the ideal thing. It's the ideal heart, not the athletic heart. It's the ideal heart on that list. And stress management, too, that I do, as I said, if it wasn't for my exercise, I wouldn't be able to handle it. And the final thing we recommend is get an examination. Now, people can't afford that type of examination, but people line up to come through our clinic. We have waiting lists. People come to our clinic. Waiting lists, and people join our fitness center. It's been so highly successful. So we had no parking space here on the campus to do that. And so by combining all these things, and particularly stress, get at least 7 hours of sleep per night, that is very important as far as preventing Alzheimer's or dementia. We know that. But you can at least get your physician to do the following. Get your height and weight and get your circumference of your waist. Get that. Get your blood pressure. Get a blood study for your lipid profile. That's your cholesterol, triglycerides, things of that type. And check for diabetes. And if you get a resting EKG, that'll cost you maybe $50 to have something like that. Mm-hmm. Get at least that. That covers the tip of the iceberg. But the examinations that we have are second to none, really. We're ranked number 2 in the United States now. The examination we do at the Cooper Clinic is only behind the Cleveland Clinic. They're number 1. We're number 2. Duke is number 3. Johns Hopkins number 4. The Mayo Clinic is number 5.
And that's the full day?
That is a full day examination. Yep. Come in by 7 in the morning. They're through by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So what we do in one day takes the Cleveland Clinic at least 2 days. I'm negotiating right now with a group in China. And they have a series of hospitals. It's Lazora Hospitals. They have 5 hospitals in China. It's approved by the Chinese government. I've been to China 13 times. We have a center in Nanjing, China, Cooper Aerobics Health and Wellness Center. And they want us to cooperate with them to have medical tourism on the island of Henan. And that's their version of Hawaii. Beautiful facility. Now, I've been there. I met President Xi there in 2013 and heard him make the most fearful, the health of the Chinese children is their obesity. You wouldn't think of that. So we committed to Cooperize China to help him with that problem. We have a Cooper Aerobics Park in Beijing, and they have a 7-foot marble statue of me walking my dog there now on the outskirts of Beijing. Wow. I'm well known in China, probably better in China than in the United States. But again, what they want us to do, they want to duplicate the examination we do at the Cooper Clinic. And they came over and videoed everything we do, the equipment, all that, and taking it back to this new hospital, this number 6 hospital they're building on the island of Henan, so they can advertise that they have a Cooper Clinic type examination to draw people from throughout the world to come for an examination there and then start a program. And they have a theater that's down to 1,500 people they're building. They have underwater restaurant, never heard of such a thing. And they have accommodations out of this world. And people can come through, go through the Cooper Clinic examination, and then implement the program while they're there. Medical tourism. And they're fortunate they've long before we thought about the United States. So the whole world is becoming to follow our recommendations now.
They're getting Cooperized.
Getting Cooperized.
What is preventative medicine, and how has your understanding of longevity evolved over your decades in practicing preventative medicine?
Well, I've been practicing preventative medicine now exclusively for almost 55 years. I had my tomb office back in 1970 at Preston Center, with from office and 2 employees, and I had the medical side of my back. I was doing something as dangerous as treadmill stress testing. I pioneered treadmill stress testing in the Air Force working with NASA. I was in the service for 13 years, worked with my colleague Bill Thornton. And I had transferred from the Army to the Air Force, become a flight surgeon in the Air Force, and become a NASA astronaut. I was going to become a sinus astronaut. That was my goal from transfer, and Bill had that idea. So we had the first responsibility was to develop a readable EKG on an exercising subject. that did not exist back there in 1960. We had to go through all the technology to get an EKG that we could read. We used to stand on the treadmill and get your pulse by getting the heart rate by checking your pulse. Mm-hmm. That's how antiquated we were. But you get in space, that guy's extravehicular going into serious cardiac arrhythmia. You had no way of determining that. We had to do that. So we monitored that technique. I did over 1,000 treadmill stress tests in the Air Force, and they're doing that regularly now if we have that in space. It did that. And so it got to 1970, and I was right on line to become a scientist assassin. I got my board's in aerospace medicine, too. But I said in 1970, I told Bill, this is such a competitive field that I think it's going to be a long time before either one of us get into space. And so I left. I turned back. I left the Air Force through 7 years. I've been retired. I was a lieutenant colonel, be a full colonel. They wanted me, encouraged me to stay in the Air Force. But I went out on my own. And by making that decision, Bill stated it took him 17 years to get his first flight into space. But I was able to start from scratch, and now we have a fantastic center here. And that was answered for one of the major epiphanies in my life.
Preventive.
And that I had planned on becoming. I did my internship in Seattle. And I made arrangements. They had the Berry plan, so I had to play back to the military for a couple of years. But see what happened, too, is when I was running in high school and college, as I mentioned, my running weight was about 168. But as soon as I got to medical school, I learned a very important point. Obesity is most common manifestation of stress. And so what happened, I ate to keep awake at night, to make good grades and all that. My weight, I stopped exercising. I didn't realize that exercise was medicine. Exercise to me was competitive athletics back in those days. That was routine thinking. So I didn't exercise at all. And so I peaked out at 204 pounds after I finished my internship. I had planned on going back to Portland, Oregon and do a residency in ophthalmology. But then I had another epiphany. And during that period, I had done nothing. Water skiing the first time in many years at Lake Texoma. I'd skied this column horse there many times. And I was overweight, deconditioned, had none of anything in 6 years. And so I got about halfway through the slalom course, I got hit with chest pain. My heart was racing out of my chest, still in the Air Force. Got me over the side, and the heart rate came back to normal, the pain disappeared. So the next day, back in San Antonio, I was evaluated by the Aerospace Medical Center in San Antonio, Brooks Air Force Base. They said, "Nothing wrong with you, Doc. You're out of shape." Now, I was 29 years of age, out of shape, and I've been an outstanding athlete. And so that changed my life. I had hypertension. I was pre-diabetic. I lost weight within 6 months from my first marathon a year later. And that's what changed my whole project, because I'd planned on being an ophthalmologist.
Right.
But I thought, this is a field of medicine, and sadly, you know what? I need a sponsor. Concept of preventive medicine. We were taught in preventive medicine that preventive medicine is the Cinderella of the medical space because there's no profit in health. The profit's in disease. That's how I was taught that in medical school. They told me in Dallas some 54 years ago, you can't limit your practice taking care of healthy people, make ends meet. Now we have a win-ins. People from all over the world to our clinic, and 74% return pay. The most elaborate database in the world. Our Cooper Center longitudinal study has over 150,000 patients in it now. And some of these patients have been evaluated 50 times over the years. We published over 700 papers now. That's in the book. 700 papers, bridging the gap between faddism and scientific legitimacy, you actually have the price of medicine. And finally, the results are price to be ignored. I've gone all the way from being run out of town, board of censors, all that kind of stuff. Several months ago, the Dodge County Medical Society on my back. They came to me and they said, "Doctor, we want to recognize your accomplishments." What? You want to recognize my accomplishments? You have me go before the board of censors for take my license away from me? You just want to I think you got the wrong Dr. Cooper. Because the other Dr. Cooper is the team physician for the Dallas Cowboys, Ben Cooper. No, they said, "We want to recognize your accomplishment." And that was complete. I wanted to see you got your head out of the sand. But it wasn't. We had a meeting yesterday. Now we're going to have invitation, Dallas County Medical Society, to come to our clinic. We take 200 at a time. And we'll give them a video and a presentation and really orient them toward preventive medicine. Because preventive medicine, that's the second part of the book. We got to resurrect that. That should be a legitimate specialty. That isn't a legitimate specialty now because people think they can't make any money out of it. And even physicians, I don't know anything about it. Anything I learned about diabetes, learned about nutrition, learned about exercise physiology, was all I learned at Harvard School of Public Health for 2 years. And getting a doctorate of exercise physiology, working on that, and getting a master's in public health. They don't get that in medical school. So the second document we had is for medical students, get this medical student. So we're trying to get physicians trained in preventive medicine. Now it's an Academy of Lifestyle Medicine. And you can get certified now as a specialist in preventive medicine by going that route, the Academy of Lifestyle Medicine. A long ways.
Are there specific biomarkers or screenings you believe are essential for tracking longevity?
Yes, an article came out recently in the New England Journal of Medicine and talking about the best predictors of longevity. And the same old thing, blood pressure, height, weight, cholesterol, of cigarette smoking, all these various things I mentioned are routine things, but they left out exercise, being inactive. The World Health, back in October 2022, said there's 500 million people totally sedentary throughout the world. They're costing $47 billion a year. They'd be about $400 billion over a 10-year period for diseases that could be prevented if you eliminated inactivity. Why couldn't they include that in this big article that came from Germany in the New England Journal of Medicine? We have a letter to the editor. You left out the most important thing. So the most important thing of all these things of being Cooperized is get yourself in shape. And people give me the real, this is my little acronym I use, why people don't want to exercise, TEMMPF. T, I don't have the time. Mm-hmm. E, I don't have the energy. M, I don't have the motivation. M, I don't have the money. P, I don't have the place. And it's not fun. Those are the excuses I get all the time. I don't want to be exclusive. If you want to take it, if you want to have an excuse for exercising, accept the fact you're going to be sick. Because exercise, it eliminates so many things. And that's the foundation. But you incorporate all these things. And people are living 10 years longer when they come to Cooper Clinic.
So with that, let me ask you this. There are people who just want to live life. They want to live large and drink their beer and have a good time, and they're not worried about living longer. What do you say?
Let me tell you about that, because I've heard that for many, many years. The one thing we've documented in our extensive research is people who exercise regularly feel better. They're less depressed. Mm-hmm. They're less hypochondriac, improved self-image, much more positive attitude towards life, and fewer somatic complaints. Now, do you want to feel good now? You have no idea how much better you can feel. I should be at colleges quite frequently. And people, I don't want to do that. I want to enjoy life to the fullest then. Mm-hmm. And I'm missing a part of life that if I started early like I did after I made that change, when I had that epiphany in my life, and I felt so much better. I couldn't believe that. I've had many, many letters. People tell me, I wish I'd known 20 years ago how much better I could feel. I've lost all that time. So I think we hit the emotional aspect of that. That's going to be the greatest motivator we have. But the biggest thing we have, too, in coming to the clinic is the treadmill stress test. Now, that's all of our patients, over 300,000 treadmill stresses on. We pioneered that all the way. But we find that people come through, 16.1% have an abnormal equivocal stress test. Now, only 5% know they have a problem. So 11% of the people come to the clinic, we find heart disease with the treadmill stress test. Most physicians aren't doing that at all. That's the first thing. Next thing we do is we look at, with our CT examination, look at the calcification of coronary arteries. Now, we have an age adjustment. We know that your calcification of coronary arteries will increase with age. But if it's way out of bounds there, you got to really hit your cholesterol profile. You got to get that under control. And then we do CT angiograms on our clinic. And we actually inject some dye and find out how much of a problem they have there in the heart. Classic example in the book is George Bush. And he had, of course, he was one of the most highly conditioned presidents we've ever had. I went to Washington 8 times to his examination when he was president. I've been taking care of him for a long time. Still member of our concierge program. Let me tell you what happened the first time we did the stress test with George back in 2001. That it was at Bethesda Naval Hospital. And the chief of cardiology wasn't quite sure he wanted to do the treadmill stress test because it wasn't accepted back in those days in 2001. And said, George, you want to take the stress test? Yes, he's always dramatic, always dynamic, because he always ranks the top 5 percentiles level. It's always most high condition president we ever had. And so the true story, I may have had in the book, but the chief of cardiology was standing beside me. And Ronnie was with us, by the way. She went up there to help do that test. And so we kept increasing the incline because it's standard speed, but increase the incline every minute. It keeps going up and up. The heart rate kept going up, reading the EKG, and it was going up. And he finally said, George, you want to quit? No, I don't want to quit. I want to quit. And so I got up higher and higher. And finally I said, George, you want to quit? No. And the chief cardiologist, you're going to kill the president of the United States. George, you want to quit? No. I know what the wrath of the cardiologist around the door. George, you want to quit? So he went and did 22 minutes on the treadmill.
Wow. That's a long stretch.
I think he was sweating blood there for a while.
I'm certain.
And he was outstanding in shape. But they came back to Dallas the first time we assessed him. His EKG was abnormal. Couldn't believe that. I assessed him in Washington, it was always normal. Immediately did a CT angiogram and showed that he had up to 98% obstruction of the widowmaker, the LAD. Immediately got him into the hospital. And within 3 hours, he had angioplasty stent. That saved his life because he was scheduled to have a cislumbral bicycle ride 6 weeks later. He probably would have died. He would have known that. The most common first symptom of severe heart disease is sudden death. People don't realize that too. I don't have any symptoms. Well, you may find out you'll have some symptoms. And so he didn't have any symptoms, never had angina, but he had this serious thing happening within his body he didn't know about that we pick up early. We pick up things nobody else picks up. When you go through our thing, get a clean bill of health, I mean, it's a wonderful feeling you have because we don't miss anything. It's what we do. So we pioneered all this. Now the rest of the world is trying to do what we're doing.
Well done. What is your perspective on supplements extending lifespan?
Well, extending lifespans, I'm showing that's helping as far as COVID and this coronavirus. It will happen in the future. I write articles for Decision Magazine. That's the Billy Graham, now Franklin Graham organization. I've been doing this every other month since January 2021. And that's been, I've had better response from those articles than I ever had from any medical journal. It goes about 750,000 people around the world. And so, but I pointed out in the article that you need to keep taking the vitamin D because you get through this coronavirus. We have them every 6 years or so. They come around. Keep taking the rest of your life. As I'm doing it right now. We are having a COVID epidemic now, but I took my vitamin D this morning. Took my 5,000 units of vitamin D because at that level, hypervitaminosis D, that's extremely unusual. The toxic level of vitamin D is like 75. It was much like it's made by much more like 150, and mine runs about 75. My vitamin D level, the toxic level is way up there. We keep everything within reasonable limits, and so we do that with our blood. We measure vitamin D. But the other thing I insist that when people go through the clinic, even with their own private physician, get the C-reactive protein. That's one thing they need to get measured too, because we know now, and this recent article just came out in Mayo Clinic newsletters, and they talked about dementia and the problems that occur. And the same thing they said before is that you could have a brain full of amyloid plaque and tau protein, which is consistent with Alzheimer's dementia, but it doesn't cause any symptoms. It has to be activated by something. And now they say that the measure of inflammation, which is a measure of C-reactive protein, measures inflammation. You have that light the fire, it causes the problem. So measure C-reactive protein. If it's high, then you can get it down by taking omega-3, as I take twice a day. I take omega-3 and losing weight and get in shape, bring it back down. It may protect you from getting dementia. And that's mentioned as a primary thing in this article from the Mayo Clinic. We need to concentrate on lifestyle because no drug can replicate the benefits of an active lifestyle.
I got it. Vitamin D, omega-3.
That's what I take myself. I take a gram of omega-3 twice a day, and I take 7,000 units of vitamin D a day.
You're a data guy. Have you seen any trends or research in the last 5 to 10 years that have truly changed your view on aging?
No, I think we're setting the standard for that, really, with what we're doing.
Setting the
we're
standard.
Proving, as I said, our women are averaging 90.5 years of age, or 86.5 years of age. That's a national average of 88.6 years. The national average 10 years less than that. We're proving that. In our people, we did this in a long study, but we have 100,000 people that we follow. But we found they're squaring off the curve, too. That's the way I want to die. If I die tomorrow, praise the Lord, I have a great life. We call that squaring off the curve because condensing the time of senility and senescence into a short period immediately prior to death. That's the way I want to go. I just checked this morning the MOCA test. And if I get inside dimension, I remember those words, taste, church, red velvet, and Davy, and counting backwards from 100 by 7. Can you do that? Counting backwards by 7 from 100. That's a MOCA test. You have to do that. Okay, what's that show there? Yeah. But I can still do that at my advanced age in my 95th year.
You're sharp.
So I have no signs of dementia, praise the Lord.
What excites or concerns you most about artificial intelligence and its role in preventative care and longevity?
I worry about that's going to change too many things, I'm afraid. It's going to destroy the relationship between the physician and the patient. That's the big thing I worry about. You're going to get a lot of recommendations from AI that just aren't factual. Mm-hmm. And if people are they're relying too much upon the internet. I know things of that type.
Sure.
And you need to have, I want to see all these things they're claiming. I want to see some published research on that data. In fact, if I'm reading a book, I want to see what the reference are so I have in the back of the book. Mm-hmm. It's just somebody just has an idea. They have a lot of books out now as far as prolongation of life. But what's it based on? Just an idea or a concept. That's based on scientific fact.
Right.
With the reference in the back of the book. I want to see the reference before I accept anything as far as AI is concerned.
Fair enough. There's research that links faith, purpose, and longevity with evidence showing that spirituality and mindset contribute to both quality and length of life. I know you're a man of faith. Please share your thoughts on that.
That's why I say you want to be both spiritually fit and physically fit. One of my favorite verses is in Isaiah 40:31. It says that those that wait upon the Lord will regain strength. They will mount wings and soar like eagles. They will run and not be weary and walk and not faint. That's in the first few chapters of the Bible. There's to walk. I've been able to tape earlier this week. I go to Prestonwood or Baptist Church there. There's a number of people that they're talking about the importance of walking. Walking is ideal. Of the 41 different exercises that are qualifying as being the top one, walking is number 5. At the top, you have cross-country skiing, then you have swimming, then you have jogging and running, and then you have cycling, and then you have walking. Mm-hmm. The top 5. Who can't walk? There is no excuse. If you got these You got the excuse, I've got to answer. But you got to get disciplined. Right. And that's something else that I insist upon. People ask me, how have you been so successful at your advanced stage when 95% of medical school classes already died? Only 5 of us left of 106. It's because of the discipline I've had with my life since that epiphany I had all these years ago. And so I'm very regular. But discipline is something, it says in the Bible, shame and Proverbs, shame and poverty come with those who are not disciplined. So a lot of my biblical verses I'm using that would glorify God in your body as well as your spirits. So all these things are physical. I want people to be spiritually and physically fit both. That's what I talk about in Decision Magazine.
And to use your faith to inspire you to be healthy.
Yes, I think I'm challenged. I think the Lord has challenged me. I'm goal setting. And I think most people need to be goal setting. At this advanced stage of life, you don't want to retire and do nothing. Famous Zig Ziglar once said, you don't retire, you refire. So I'm refiring in my 95th year. I would be bored sick if I didn't do anything. I go to the office, I've signed over 1,800 books now so far. Wow. I have some waiting for me at the office when I get back this morning to sign. They're coming from everywhere. But people want, that's the first edition, get assigned by the first.
I'm honored. I will treasure it. Thank you for signing it.
The price. The original aerobics book, published in 1960, cost $1. Now to get one on Amazon, it costs $21.
I paid in full. If you had to distill all of your knowledge into one piece of advice for living longer and better, what would it be?
Don't quit exercising. Keep it up the rest of your life, because remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. That's most important. And remember what I said before, no drug can replicate the benefits of an active lifestyle.
What common myths about aging and longevity would you like to debunk?
That you can't build up muscle mass past 50 years of age. Yeah, that's one thing I'm looking at right now.
Right.
Because I lost the muscle mass in my right leg because of that injury, but I'm building up muscle mass, and my muscle is contracting now. A study was published at Tufts Medical School years ago with a group of men. They had them doing leg lifts and just did this over a period of 6 weeks, just to try to build the quadricep muscle. And at the end of 6 weeks, they had an increase in strength of 160%, increase in size of quadricep muscle, a 9% increase in walking speed, at an average age of 90.4. So don't tell me. We're working on the 13 myths in one of my books, The Myths of Exercise. I was taught in medical school, you don't wear out your rust out. It's what it is. Keep that in mind. And that can change. And I'm proving that in my own experiences.
Not so rusty. How do you personally define a life well lived?
Living until the fullest that final moment, scoring off the curve. And this is my legacy. I've said it's going to be my last book. It's my 20th book. If I die tomorrow, I'm perfectly satisfied. I've had a wonderful life. I'd say, praise the Lord. I would take that any day to live 6 more years. I can't recognize my family. A lot of people are doing that, as you know, with the home care business. And I've had some experience at home care. I need the stress. That's where I got the recommendation. It's from our platinum group. They came to us and recommended when I needed some help from my wife. I told you earlier, I was just reading on that how the number of people have considering suicide with home care because he's such a burden on the family member. It's not paid for by insurance.
Right.
And one of the articles, I talked about that in one of my Decision Magazine articles about home care and the problems with that. Now, in Canada, they have a certain fund that people can draw into and can get insurance for home care, but we don't get that in the United States. So, again, it's a tremendous problem. And so it's something we want to try to avoid.
Dr. Cooper, what haven't I asked you that I should?
Well, I'm here today. It's still alive with 95% of my medical school classes already died. Because you know what happened? When I was in medical school, half our class smoked. And they ate like I did. They gained weight. They didn't have that epiphany I had. They changed my lifestyle, and so they've all passed away. So I think that if I hadn't had that epiphany, I wouldn't be here today. So I praise the Lord. Why? I have my wife now 66 years from her anniversary for 66 years. And I said, but I wonder why that nearly all my colleagues, only 5 of us left in my class, in my medical school class in 1956 were gone. She said, because the Lord's not through with you yet. But there's some truth to that. Because the opportunities I'm having, lots of television appearances, traveling all over the country, probably going back for national television coverage on this. I don't know what will happen, but I'll give God the credit for it. If you can reduce medical problems and prolong life, and then what's the best medication you can get to do that? But that's why the Medicare study is so important, because you can prevent disease and can reduce the cost of health care. That's why these 2 senators wanted, we need to take this back to Washington. Because that's the big thing the public is thinking about, how to reduce the cost of health care and then Medicare and then prolong lives.
Preventive medicine.
Preventive medicine, yeah.
So
that's what, as I said, prolong lives and reduce the cost of health care. Prevent disease and reduce the cost of health care. Those are two things from the Medicare side.
Yeah.
Prevent Alzheimer's dementia, things of that type, and reduce the cost of health from 65 to 75 years. That's the important thing of the Medicare study.
You mentioned Washington. I got to tell you, I really admire you for talking about the Surgeon General, but you stay focused on your core competency.
I would have
stay
the
true to
Cooper Aerobics
yourself.
Center at the highest bidder the first time, and the second time I was considered, they wanted me to concentrate on age, they've influenced bioterrorism. I don't know anything about that.
Right.
I want to concentrate on child obesity and diabetes, adult obesity and diabetes, the cost of health care. And I've proven that with our research. And so look what's happened now. The whole world is listening to us.
Incredible. I will tell you, I'm really stuck on your answer about the 7 hours of sleep. How in the world do we get that?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know if
need
I've
that. You
slept
have to
7 hours
refresh the
since high
brain.
school.
You need to refresh the brain because there's a lot of answered prayer in my life where the Lord has said, had his hand on my life. That's why you see in this part of the book, it talks about right here that he credits his success to divine intervention. He got his hand on my life. That was the title of the first article I wrote in Decision Magazine back in 2071. And he says, the husband's father, that he said that they asked him many years ago if I could predict what I'd be doing the president, I'd miss 1,000-fold because my vision was finite and the Lord's was infinite. But that's true because there's so many answered prayers. A lot of those are in the book. And what I'm going to tell you, because it's the most dramatic one of my life. And this happened back in 1989 because during the early days here, and it was difficult, having got at the top, family work, I can work third. I am upside down, just trying to get by, trying to make ends meet. It was very difficult. Everybody on my back and tried to run me out of town and all that sort of thing. And so I didn't have much time to spend with my children. And Tyler was born 8 days after I saw my first. He's not the president and CEO of the operation, by the way. And so I didn't have any time at Berkeley either. She's 3 years older than Tyler. And so we made up time. So now that we made 12 international trips, Tyler and I, father and son trips, and Berkeley's had a couple with us. But one we made was the one that I had the greatest response as far as God to have his son in my life, occurred in 1989, when 6 of us, 3 fathers and son, went to climb Kilimanjaro in Africa. We went to Kenya and trained there for a week at 10,000 feet because that's 19,600. I've climbed Mount Rainier twice at 14,000, 10 feet, all that kind of stuff. But I'd been up to 19,600 feet. And so I went to train. Then going across the border from Kenya to Tanzania, at first they wouldn't let me across because I sent them my passport from South Africa. I've been to South Africa several times. Gary Player's a good friend of mine, for example. And so you can't legally be in Tanzania. It's not possible. And so we had a guide. Came back in a few minutes, so maybe I can help you. And I said, what's going to cost me? $35. I can handle that. So I bribed myself to get across. So that night we had a meeting at the base of the mountain. It's about 7,000 feet, the base of the mountain there. And they told us the dangers, cerebral edema. You get up there, get headaches. Mm-hmm. If you don't get them off the mountain to get oxygen, you'll die. That's all there is to it. You start destroying brain cells at that altitude, 19,600 feet. So it's a major thing to get off the mountain. So Todd, I'm thinking about this. Because in my career in the military, I had to do altitude chamber flights. That's part of my responsibility as a flight surgeon with pilots and future flight surgeons at Brooks Air Force Base. You have to go to 43,000 feet, where the time of use of conscience is only about 45 seconds. And they have a rapid decompression down to 25,000 feet to show the insidious effect of hypoxia, lack of oxygen. And so at 25,000 feet, the TUC, time of use of conscience, is 5 minutes. But so I had to demonstrate that by taking off my mask and write my name, rank, and serial number. And before long, I'd be doing this. I didn't even know that. Put my mask back on. I couldn't believe that had happened to you if you lost your mask at 25,000 feet. You wouldn't even know it in flying the mountain. That happened not long ago. This plane was flying at 25,000 feet or 20,000 feet or so in a secure area in Washington, near the Capitol. And so they set a jet up. The guy was slumped over because they couldn't cover that.
Yeah.
Flew into the mountain. Everybody was killed. That could happen. Put all that together. I said, Todd, I don't think I'll make this trip. So I think I better go back. I can arrange this on my own. And he agreed with me because I've lost some pet cells already from that. I don't want to lose any more. And so he agreed. So they left the next morning, and I went to the north side. They were coming back. 3 days later, they circled them. They would get to the top of the mountain there. And I got a guy to take me up to the 14,000-foot level. So I went up. We raced up and back. I said, such a kid. It didn't take any hard time to do that. Next morning, I found somebody. I had to do this all myself. Found somebody to take me back to that border. And so I found a guy that could speak a little English at a Volksbus. And he'd take me back. And his learned his teeth from Dallas. Well, he was a fan of the Dallas TV program. I couldn't believe that. Oh, so I told Linda Crawford was been my page on one of the stars, and that made him impressive. I got back closer to the border. I realized I'm in trouble. I don't have anybody to help me now. And so he dropped me off. That was it. And so I walked over there to security and to go through the security. And I was probably beating 150 beats a minute. And I was really worried. I had no idea who was going to help me. I was standing in line, one person in front of me. And out of a clear blue sky, it's in the book, out of a clear blue sky, this beautiful white woman dressed in white came up and said, Dr. Cooper, I've been waiting for me. I've been waiting for you. Give me your passport. So I gave her my passport. And she walked up with me, opened it up, with a stern voice said, stamp it, immediately closed it back, give it back to me. So he couldn't look through it. And I told the woman to thank her. No one there. And I asked anybody to see that woman that was there.
She was your angel.
It was my angel. I said one of these days I want to meet that angel. Because the Lord provided an angel for me. That's an example. Another example in the book is Clarice Nichols, the property we are at now. I tried to find a place that was ideal. I had actually drawn a green sheet, a long sheet, exactly what I wanted to do. And provide the ideal center, have a fitness center, a clinic, a research institute, a hotel, all the various things that we have right now in our 30 acres there. But then we couldn't get Mrs. Nichols to sell the properties. But I couldn't buy the 22 acres that her husband put together. He died of a heart attack at 55 years of age. Yeah, Carrie put that 22 acres together, and she wanted to break it down at all. I can't handle that. I only want 8.6 acres, and I can handle that. Maybe raise money to get that, but I couldn't handle it anymore. So he turned me down 3 times. But then finally told my real estate agent, ask her again. Once more. He said, just a minute. Is he the man who wrote the book on exercise? And Harold said, yes, he was. He wrote aerobics. He said, for him, I will do that. Why? Because before I left the Air Force, Howard Butt, HEB, invited me to speak at the Laborers Leadership Institute in Colorado Springs. My wife and I gave a testimony there. And she was sitting in the audience. And she heard the testimony. And she said at that time, if I could ever help that young couple, I would help them. That's why she changed her mind. That's why we are. You think it was divine providence, divine intervention in my life?
There are no accidents in this world.
No. If we'd killed somebody on the treadmill, we'd done 300,000 treadmill stress without a problem. Someone had died on the treadmill, I wouldn't be here today.
All right. On to the nugget portion of this episode. Dr. Cooper, somebody sent this to me this week, and I thought it was really appropriate. Your future doctor is using ChatGPT to pass med school, so it's probably a good time to start eating healthy.
Yeah.
And exercise.
Yes, for sure.
Yes.
Don't want to have on ChatGPT. Don't do that. I don't get that involved.
That's not a doctor. All right. On to the lightning round of this episode. This is an opportunity for viewers to get to know you on a personal basis, as well as the personal basis that you shared in your book. I want viewers to know, where were you born and raised?
Oklahoma City, March the 4th, 1931.
Young man.
Father Price and dentist there, I mentioned before. Did my training in Oklahoma, both pre-med and medical school, University of Oklahoma. And then at Harvard for 2 years, I spent my professional training.
First concert.
I don't attend concerts.
Worst modern invention.
Cell phone.
Cell phone.
Cell phone. Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Chariots of Fire.
Favorite book?
The Bible.
Beautiful.
Read every day.
Still in touch with childhood friends?
There's none left.
Mountains or beach?
I have both.
All right.
We have a home in California at the Del Coronado Hotel, and we have a place in Colorado. That's where I broke my leg. That's at Beaver Creek, Colorado.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Call or text?
Call.
Favorite exercise routine?
As I do at the end of the day, 30 minutes my recumbent bicycle and then 10 minutes on the way.
Least favorite exercise?
Well, I tried pickleball. I couldn't handle that.
Okay. iPhone or Android?
I don't use any of them.
That's why you have your PR team, right?
Yep.
Are you sentimental?
Yes.
I'm celebrating your anniversary tomorrow. I figured as much.
Yes.
Karaoke, yes or no?
No.
All right. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Do you believe in aliens?
No.
Thanks for playing along.
Okay.
I appreciate you being here today. This is very informative, and it's an honor to have you on this podcast. I want to read an excerpt from your book, if you don't mind. My favorite line in the book. It makes me happy to know my mother was in our own home right up until the end, driving her own car and living independently as she so adamantly wished to do. Both my parents squared off the curve, which is the same goal I have for all of my loved ones, my patients, and for myself. We should all be so fortunate.
That is true.
Thanks for watching today. If you want to see this episode or any past episodes, you can dial us up on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and the ManchesterLivingPodcast.com. If there's anything I can ever do for you, don't hesitate to reach out directly. And also, I'm going to put up the URL for the Cooper Aerobics Center on the screen if you want to dial them up on the web. Thanks for watching today.